That's what I thought the guest speaker was.
He was. He wanted to know. He likes you. Yes, those were rebel. Okay, well, we are going to go welcome everybody to our Team YOLO call. Got a lot of great things happening. Business is really exploding around the world. We have another new NMD on the team from Australia, which is Lauren Berry. We also have a couple new VFs on the team. We have Effie, who's from San Diego. We just did an event in San Diego. And so Effie on Cecile's team. I know we've got a lot over in Poland. New VFs over there. A couple new SCs over there. So we'll be acknowledging them as well. Business is really growing, so super proud of everybody. I know that we have Amy White, who just went SSC. They just did an event.
Let's do this call first.
SCs. So lots of great things happening. I did want to fill everybody in on what's happening around the world just for the next months. We're going to be doing one next week. We'll be going to the Australia conference. The Australia conference is totally sold out. Pretty exciting because we have about 2/3 of the Australia conferences from our team. So very exciting with just great things happening over there in Australia and New Zealand. So anybody you know over there in Australia and New Zealand and that you want me to meet with them over in Australia, please let me know. I will be in Melbourne for a while. So that's great with the Australia conference coming up. We obviously have St. Louis coming up, which I'm super excited. We're going to be doing some things with the Shining Stars with my mentors, Doug and Mitra. So it's very exciting. Joy Kelly and those guys. So I'm really all about sidelines supporting each other. That's what I love our team. What I love the most is also just the friends that I've made along the way in the sideline support, because I believe we can learn so much from each other and with each other for our success, because it really is one team, one mission. So we've got St. Louis coming up. We also have Bournemouth, which is in the UK. That's coming up on the October the 8th. There's also in September, there is the event that is going to be taking place in Germany, I think, the German event. And then there's also the Rome conference that's going to be taking place in November. So what we're going to be doing is we'll be doing one flyer with all of the upcoming conferences, major conferences, so you guys know where those are happening around the world. As you know, we're updating our starter guide with some things. So if you want to be a part of it, we would love for you to be a part of that. We've got lots of segments, so we'd love so that we can have one kind of international starter guide for people. So if there's something, please connect with Olivia, because our goal is really to get that done by the 3rd week or end of June at the very latest, and we can take care of you guys. But let's go ahead and get started with who you really want to hear from. And I just adore this man and his beautiful wife, Doug Barlow and his beautiful wife, Mitra Ray, as well as their 2 wonderful daughters. Just such amazing examples. They picked up some extraordinary habits, I believe, from these 2 just walking their talk. And his daughters are amazing. We had the opportunity to be together at Winterfest. I think you guys renewed your vows there at Winterfest. And we all went skiing together. And I think when you spend that quality time with people, not just at a seminar, but really in playtime, you get to understand just who people really are. They are really the creators of the T30 program. They give their heart and soul, not just for their own teams, but for the whole community. So we owe them all a lot of kudos and acknowledgments just for who they are and how they show up as leaders. And they spent the last 22 years creating an ideal lifestyle to help others create the same. Seeking optimum health can be a challenging journey, this is for sure. And there is lots of misinformation driven by politics, profits, and industry versus health and wellness, health and healing. He's an entrepreneur and a longtime athlete, excelling as a competitive sailor, which is very dear to my heart because Joshua Slocum, you probably are aware of, my son's great-great-grandfather. He's a mountaineer, a professional ski patrol, a paraglider pilot, and a general lover of all the things outdoors. So along the way, he's found joy in the simple truths in the world of excess information and complexity. He has traveled the world via plane, ship, and foot. He and his partner, Mitra, have built a very large multinational distributorship through educational programs focused on the benefits of plant-based nutrition, creating free time and improving one's cash flow. As we know, an avid adventurer, he is just the coolest. He loves to share the Plan B to anybody interested in escaping the rat race known as our modern society, with beliefs such as the simplest solution.
You want to match it out?
And if you're not living on the edge, chances are you're taking up too much space. I love that. So very excited. They live about an hour on the north of Seattle, Washington, in the mountains with their 3 lovely daughters. So he's a proud father, and I know he's doing what we all thrive for, which is truly spending that quality time and creating magic moments. So Doug, thank you for joining our team that's here from around the world. I'm seeing people are actually calling in from the UK, so they're up very early to hear you. And I know we talked a little bit, I think there's so much that you can share. I'm gonna kind of let you roll with it, but first and foremost, I would love for you just to share why you believe that this really is such a great plan A for people to get out of that rat race, especially as a man.
Yeah, sure. I have to share that I'm living large in my car right now. Here's my daughter, Nira. I picked her up from the ice rink. She wants to be an Olympic figure skater, and we just she cross trains as a ballerina. So we're just out of ballet class, and so here's my office for today. I got a big moon roof going on there. But yeah, thanks for having me on the call, Lauren. And I think you've kind of raised the bar in terms of building an international business. We did it by asking who knows who, and you knew a lot of people internationally. So hats off to you for having a crowd from around the world. And I'm not sure if those people in England are waking up early for the call, or they just haven't gone to bed yet. So having said that, yeah, why a plan A? And I think I probably have to revise my statement about looking for plan B, because I think more and more today, when you look at the options, and this is right out of Eric Worre's Go Pro, what are your real options for getting out of the rat race today? It's certainly not trading hours for dollars. You can be your own boss. I think a lot of men, think, oh, I'm gonna change the world. I'm gonna start my own business. Women too. But then you're just an employee of yourself. The average person can't really start a business that grows by itself. And when I talk about a business, I mean something that is above and beyond your input. So, when you look at Bill Gates or Michael Dell or Jeff Bezos, these guys have built an empire that grows without them. Or you could use investment income, but most people don't have enough money such that the 8% that maybe you can earn is actually going to allow you enough income to live on. So what I think, network marketing in today's world, especially if you don't consider all your options, it may not be for you. Maybe you're happy with a stable paycheck that's limiting, or maybe you do want to go out on your own. But if you don't explore the concept of network marketing, where the average person without any special skills can take advantage of a network and leverage. I can't say enough about leverage and creating a cash flow that comes in whether you're working or not. I think that's really an important aspect of what today has to offer. And, when you look at the workplace today, women finally, I think for the first time in history, who knows, maybe we're going to have a female president here in this country, not to get political, but it could be a possibility. And I think women have finally, they're getting close to a place where in certain places they excel over men. And so when I look at just myself as a man, I don't have any special, I don't think I have an ego per se, but I'm very grateful for the concept of network marketing, because as an engineer, I liked working as an engineer. I appreciated what I did working on ships, traveling the world. As a shipboard engineer, I made good money, and I only had to work 6 months of the year. So I got used to making good money and having free time. But after the Exxon Valdez ran aground, all that was going away. I had no control over the industry, and they were asking more and more of me for less and less pay. And so in looking for, okay, I'm going to be an engineer on the beach, I was going to take a huge cut in pay. And most importantly to me, and I think everyone could agree, most people would take half the money for twice the free time. It's the most valuable commodity that we lack in today's world. As things get faster and busier, we just don't have enough free time to do the things that we want to do. So I was going to become an engineer, leave the shipping world, and take a huge cut in pay, and most importantly, lose all this free time. And so I was very grateful when my friend shared the concept of fruit and vegetable nutrition in a capsule with me. And I realized, hey, this is a no-brainer from a product side, but I want to make money. Like, I'm giving up a lot by leaving the shipping world. Can you make money doing this? And she said, I don't know that much about business. At the time, she was pretty much an introverted scientist. You may not know that about Mitra. From when you see her on stage, she looks pretty larger than life. But the reality is, she's a homebody. And so when I asked, can you make money, telling people about this unique concept, she said, I don't know, come to a meeting and find out for yourself. I don't know that much about it. So just real quick, and then I'll turn it back to you. There's a couple things that just rocked my world when I went to that first presentation. There's only about 20, 25 people in the room. It was way back in 1994. Most people didn't even know what Juice Plus was really capable of. And the gentleman speaking from the front of the room, he happened to be his previous life was that of a deckhand on a tuna boat, and this guy had made millions. So here I am in the room thinking, well, if this guy who was a deckhand on a tuna boat can make millions, imagine me with my United States Coast Guard license to operate the biggest floating power plants in the world. Imagine what I could do. And even if I only did 10% of what he did, I'd be a happy guy. So that was a couple things. He talked about you could compress a lifetime's worth of work into a couple years worth of effort. And at the time, I was 33 years of age. I'd had just enough life experience working for somebody else that I realized I'm never going to achieve my dreams in this world. It's a good world. I mean, I'm not complaining. I had a job and I had disposable income, but it wasn't going to allow me to do the things that I've been able to do. And then the other thing that struck me was you could get paid what you're worth, which may be good news for people, maybe bad news, but you can always learn new skills and learn how to get paid more than you really are. And then finally, you could do it on your terms. And I have never been one to I never had a 9-to-5 job. I was always one of those people that questioned authority. I don't say it out of like pride or how it was, but as an engineer, unfortunately, I never knew how to keep my mouth shut. I was young and I was too smart and I didn't know how to keep my mouth shut. And I always was asked to, your services are no longer needed here. You're going to have to go elsewhere. To put it bluntly, I was kind of fired from every engineering job I had, not because I couldn't do my job, but I just didn't play the politics of a corporate world. So that meeting that I went to, it changed everything. And I became a student of the industry. And I just can't say enough about, most of us, we go to work, we go to school, we've trained a lot, we've studied a lot to do what we do. So I'm just going to encourage people, if you're keen on this industry, if you've been in it for a while and you haven't gotten where you want to be, you still have goals unfulfilled, you really have to understand how network marketing works and what you need to do day in, day out until you can build a network that allows you to leverage your time and create the life of your dreams. So that's a little bit for me, and I'll turn it back over to you and let you redirect me.
What do you think are some of those daily method of operation things that you did, or that you see people that are really really blowing up the marketing plan right now? What do you think are some of the things that they do? I think the T30 has been a huge game changer for people. So thank you guys. I think all of us owe them a huge thanks for that game changer of creating more of a program versus just products. I know that Mitra's always been about the trio. I know for a long time people resisted the trio, and you guys just stuck with it. What got you guys to, you do well, both of you do very well. You've been in the business for a long time. So what keeps you going, and what do you see some of the DMO activities are and game changer activities are that of why people are growing so quickly with the business?
Yeah, I didn't have any business skills. I didn't really think I could run my own business because I'm not that organized, and I'm kind of a little bit of a scatterbrain. But the one thing that I had, and I knew this from the time that I was little, and I don't know, probably something to do with my family upbringing, but I had an outrageous work ethic. I was very happy when someone gave me a job. I was very happy to put 150% effort into that job, get it done with efficiency. If I needed help, ask questions, and I had a good work ethic. So if you talk about compressing a lifetime's worth of work, this isn't win the lottery. This isn't like, oh, hey, buy a ticket and maybe you can become a millionaire. I realized, well, if you're going to compress a lifetime's worth of work into a couple years worth of effort, do the math. Like, how many hours of work are you working at your day job? Is it 8 hours a day? Is it 10 hours a day? Is it a 40-day work week? Is it a 60-day work week? And for how many more years? If you're 25, I don't think you'll ever be able to retire from a job. So, but just pick 50 years, 50 weeks a year on average, 40 plus hours a week. What are you going to have to do to compress a lifetime's worth of work into a couple years worth of effort? And for me, I realized, wow, I better get busy. And so I had a work ethic, and it's, one of the things we say is, talk to 2 or 3 people a day. It may seem like, well, that's easy. Well, it's easy to do, but it's easy not to do as well. So if you just do the math, if you talk to 2 people a day, 5 days a week, that's 10 people a week. That's 40 people a month. And, in our business, we try and help people create especially in the beginning, what do you want to create in your first 30 days? What do you want to create in your first 60 days? How about a 90-day game plan? How about the 6-month game plan? A 90-day game plan piggybacked. So, 40 people a month. At the end of 3 months, you've talked to 120 of people. And I just don't leave it. When I talk to people, it's not just about, oh, I've got this program called Transform 30. I talk to people about lifestyle. I just ask 3 questions. Hey, if there were 3 things you could do to improve your lifestyle, those 3 things being improve your health, create more free time, or increase your cash flow, which one of those 3 would be the most important for you in terms of improving your lifestyle? And then depending on what people tell me, I kind of answer that question accordingly. But if you ask that question to 40 people a month, at the end of 3 months, that's 120 people. At the end of 6 months, that's 240 people. And we kind of talk to people about a memory jogger. Put as many people as you know on a list that you can think of. And, as you go on, it's called a memory jogger because you'll realize, oh, I forgot to add that person. Oh, I forgot to add this person. So, the biggest thing I think is figure out how to consistently talk to, whether it's 1 person a day or 5 people a day. It doesn't really matter, but you just have to be consistent. And in the end, I think that's what really, made a difference for me. I mean, I don't mean to age myself, and Juice Boss has been very good to me. But, 22 years ago, I had a telephone, I had a landline, and I had a fax machine. So today with social media, you can click a button and you can reach out to, 10, 20, 50, 100, people have thousands of people on their list. But in the end, it's a systematic approach to kind of having a personal conversation about what you're up to with each and every one. And of course, it's easy with social media. Some people will just immediately reply, hey, tell me more. Some people are going to watch you post, and eventually, they'll realize, wow, this looks like it's working for you. And then, those people who are kind of hesitant and a little bit negative, or maybe they're just skeptical, 2-3 years down the road, they're finally going to say, okay, I can't stand this anymore. You've reached great heights. I need to know more about what's going on. So in the end, work ethic and talking to people on a consistent basis.
Yep. So I think back to the work ethic. I mean, I love what you said, which of those 3 things is most important. What keeps you going though? I mean, you guys are, doing great. I mean, you've been doing this for how long? 17 years? What keeps you going?
Oh gosh, it's going to be, I'll be in my 23rd year since I signed my distributor application on September 5th.
Right.
But I think one of the things I feel very grateful for, people talk about how the Juice Plus virtual franchise is actually a business opportunity disguised as a personal growth program. And I feel very grateful that I kind of, I did well enough. I had a little bit of extra free time early on in the business, and then I made time to kind of figure out, who am I? Like, I don't know. We all get to a place in our life, I think, where we ask, what's the meaning of life? Who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? And one of the things that I discovered about myself, sometimes to a fault, is that I am sort of, if you will, a child of love. Like, so much of who I am just sees the good in people. I get taken advantage of sometimes because I never see any evil in people. I only see good. But the thing that keeps me going is that, my friend shared this with me, and it changed my world forever. And whether it's from the free time, like, moms who want to hang out with their children, dads, especially dads who want to hang out with their children. I know so many dads who don't even know who their kids are because they're working, they're living the corporate dream, 60, 80 hours a week, always on the road, missing this, missing that. To be able to provide people with a little extra free time to do the things that are important to them, cash flow. And then when you look at cash flow, I think sometimes in today's world, I watched this little YouTube on John Oliver. He beat Oprah in terms of a television giveaway because he bought up $15 million worth of medical debt and then just dissolved it all. He gave 9,000 people the freedom of wiping out a huge medical debt. So, health, when people lose their health in today's world, it usually leads to bankruptcy. And so when you ask, why do I keep doing this? I feel like someone gave me a gift, and it's really simple. I mean, your health, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything else. But then if you have health, you want to have some free time to do what you want to do. And if you have health and free time in today's world, more and more, you need a little bit of disposable income to kind of do all the fun stuff, jump on an airplane, get on a ship, whatever. You don't have to do that, but it requires, maybe you want to have a second home somewhere where it's peaceful and quiet and you can get off the grid now and again. So why do I keep doing this? There are so many people that need a way out of the society that's built a wall around them. And I can't think of a better thing to just kind of keep sharing my story. And not everybody's interested, but I'm always willing to ask a few questions to find out if I can offer them a possible solution to the challenges that they face around health, time, and money.
It sounds like you see it as a responsibility, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
And also, I think the thing is, look at, like you said, you're with your daughter right now. I mean, to be able to do ice skating and ballet for, I remember a couple of years ago when she decided, I mean, it's nice to be able to say yes to your kids, right? I think a lot of times people get this whole belief that maybe making money is bad. I mean, versus I think that Dr. Sears was saying the number one disease that comes into his pediatric practice is parents that are financially stressed, right? So to be able to provide a way to be able to say yes, I mean, what is it like? I mean, to be able to, I mean, I know you've heard thousands of stories of people within your organization, maybe people that have been able to say yes because of the opportunity. Maybe you can share a few because everybody knows a lot of our stories on our team, but maybe you could share a couple things that light you up all the time, right? By hearing some of the stories of people making those transformations.
Yeah, I think for myself, my parents were middle class, but I'll admit they were kind of on the bottom. And when I look back at my childhood, I think my mom was always trying to live above her means in terms of fitting in with her society, the community of people that we lived with. My dad sold Volkswagens for a living, and a lot of my family friends, their parents were sort of business owners and politicians and whatnot. So I think the most important thing, initially, and especially with Mitra, the things that brought me the most joy was when I realized, wow, I have a little extra income, and I wasn't really into, I mean, Mitra always accuses me of not being this way, but I didn't need a lot of stuff in life. I mean, Mother Nature is plenty for me, but to be able to do things for my family that my family couldn't do, I'll never forget having brought Mitra's, she has two very close cousins, and I'll never forget having brought both of those families at different times, paying for all of their airline tickets for them to leave India and come visit America and have us foot the entire bill for a month to 6 weeks for both families. I was able to take my mom to India not once, but my mom and dad twice. My mom thought the first trip was sort of like, wow, that's a dream come true. But when we said, hey, do you want to go again? That was like a showstopper for her. And then, over the years, sure, we've accumulated a few things. I think, we wanted to find a place that was a fun place for our kids to grow up. And while it's a little bit remote, I don't think they'll ever complain about the fact that we were able to purchase a house on an ocean. Waterfront property is pretty expensive, even for us living in Seattle these days. But when someone said, oh, hey, here's some waterfront property that I could afford, it was 30 minutes from downtown Seattle. It was on a Native American reservation, but we have a lovely home. For my 40th birthday, Mitra said, hey, I know you always want to own a boat. I don't know anything about boat, but here's the brochure, and I think we have enough money. Why don't you go buy that boat? So, just simple things. When I guess I appreciate a lot of what we have in today's world is because when we do go to visit family in India, I look at how simply they live, and sometimes I appreciate the simplicity of life in spite of all the complexity that we add through, consumerism in this world. But yeah, and then in terms of helping other people, some of the leadership, the people that I've known the longest, I'll point them out, because if you're, for the new people, they're just kind of starting their journey. But people like Joy Kelly, moving her out of her basement apartment, living in the basement apartment of her sister's foreclosed house because their health club didn't go where they wanted it to. My friend Larry Barnes, who left a bicycle touring industry business up in Canmore, Alberta, and now travels around, just doing what we do out of pure sort of responsibility and love. And just like the family, in the end, I guess it's just like our distributor base. Yeah, it's a business, but at the same time, it's more of a family. And I think I appreciate the people and the community that we create out of what we have with Juice Plus and the corporate integrity. I think that's probably the most important thing, is a sense of family and community.
That's why I adore you guys. So let me ask you a question. So for the people that are stuck or feel like that they're stuck, that they just feel like they've tried everything, that they're listening to everything, that they're doing the activity, that they're on the calls, that they're doing about, what would you say to those people that feel as though they might be stuck?
That's the $1 million question, Lauren. I've done so much, Mitra and I, whether it's spiritual exploration, I was a big fan of landmark education. That kind of saved my family dysfunctionality. But I always thought, like, okay, so I've got a lot of knowledge. I've got some pretty good tools in my toolbox. When people get stuck, I can be their coach. I can help them discover what it is that they need to do in their life to get unstuck and move forward in their business. But the longer I did this business, the longer I realized I don't have what it takes. I don't know why these people, from people who have backgrounds where they were incredibly successful in other businesses or athletics or, community activism, sometimes I was just like, I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do with this person. I've tried everything. And so one of the things, when I look at our business, we kind of have a three-prong approach. The system is Transform 30 for us. I love the fact that there's a health program, not just a product. So that's the system. The skill set, I think Eric Worre does a great job in terms of helping people understand, how do you go about building a large networking business, and what do you need to do to be successful in terms of the skills? But then you're left with the mindset. And this is where, everybody's a little bit different. But one of the things that I think has made a huge difference for a lot of people, and it's not, there's a lot of different things, but right now, especially if you go to conference, you'll hear people talk about, image seminars and the work that Bob Samara does with some people. It doesn't work for everybody, but I think you have to figure out how to like reconstruct your mind. I think how many people grew up with, in a world where, we'll have to consult the paycheck before, or the checkbook before we can afford that or see if we can afford that. And I think really, as Bob talks, understanding your true self-worth. I can't say enough about that. So it's kind of like, when people are stuck, when they're like, I've tried this, I've tried that, it's usually there's something inside them that they're not willing to do. And so, you have to do some personal exploration, and whether it's spiritually, whether it's an image seminar, landmark, there's so many things you can do. But in the end, I think people have to kind of invest in their own future and kind of look themselves hard in the mirror and have somebody else kind of like, take them to the mat. Like, what are you not willing to do? What are you not willing to change? Everybody else around you is making it happen. And it's not big. It's not, I don't think it's usually big stuff. It's usually just like small little things.
It's just like ice skating, right? To get it, it's usually just a tiny little mill, or even a sailboat is a great example, right? It doesn't mean like you have to take such extreme. It's just like that little shift with regard to it. And that's usually the hardest. It's like we have people do a pamper pull in Fiji, and it's usually that last step. And it's really just doing exactly the same things, but it just looks a little bit different or feels a little bit different. So we think that it must be so different, right? But it might be, like you said, it might be your beliefs about money. It might be about your self-worth. For me, I think a big thing was one of the worst places to be is when you're comfortable, right? Because when you're comfortable, you're not really challenging yourself, right?
I'm there now. I'm so comfortable with my life. It takes, I'm always happy to talk, but I have to say that when they said you can compress a lifetime's worth of work into a couple of years worth of effort, I'm like, how much more do I have to keep doing? But at the same time, I did post a picture of a video on my Facebook wall today about a boat that would require me to do a little bit extra.
So Transform 30, just real quick for everybody, what you've seen with Transform 30, and what would you say to everybody about, business wise, I know for a lot of people, it's pretty much tripled, quadrupled people's business by putting this into action. I know I've got a lot of people on the line who are doing that as well, but what would you say about just Transform 30 and why they should, might want to consider using this model, especially when they're starting people to get them to their positions?
Well, I think the biggest reason is, when people say, oh, well, what do you do? Oh, I educate people about Juice Plus. They're like, oh, they immediately get, oh, that's a product. You're going to try and sell me something. And so, having a program versus a product kind of approach, I think that's a game changer. So when people say, oh, what do you do? Oh, well, I help educate people about a lifestyle program called Transform 30. Then they have to say, well, what's that? Whereas if you say, oh, Juice Plus, they go, oh, that's some product, and they know that you're going to try and sell them something. And some people are open, but some not. So having a program approach to health, I love the fact that, hey, Juice Plus is, like Jay Martin says, it's a catalyst. It's not the end all be all. So the thing that I love about Transform 30 is that there's the product, Juice Plus, it gives you leverage. It makes it easy for you to cram a lot of fruits and veg in your diet, but that's not the end of the game. That's just like, that's the 80%. That's the easy part. The other 20% to create what I call optimum cellular health or dietary excellence, that extra 20%, that's the work that you have to do. So what does it look like for 30 days to, give up dairy or gluten, or take on some of these other healthy habits, drinking water, not eating big meals late at night? The biggest people say, oh, I can't do that. I travel too much. And to this day, since I became mostly a plant eater, people say, oh, I can't do that. I'm on the road too much. I was like, well, I'm on the road too. And you know what? It just really depends on what your commitment is to your health. And I'm not perfect. I like to have a good time. I don't claim to be perfect. I posted about how the health benefits of champagne the other day, but having a program approach where I can show people, hey, if you're committed to your health and you're in the middle of something big and you have to travel, food used to be about survival. Today it's about indulgence and something other than just, I need to be able to feed myself so I don't starve to death. So, what's wrong with a baked potato and steamed veggies? Almost every restaurant in the world has that. So I love the program approach. It gives, the company does one simple change. And for me, it's kind of like, that's great, but your health isn't about one simple change. It's about one simple change at a time. And there's a lot of changes you can do. And I love the fact that Transform 30 comes from a Stanford biochemist who's studied about this more than anyone else and created what she called, simple, sustainable vitality. And so if you really want to, there's a lot of different ideas out there, but after 22 years, the thing that I love most about what we do is the education that you are provided with from all these industry experts. Mitra, I think she's one of the smartest people I know. A lot of doctors come to her looking for information, and she's got a science background. You may not like what she has to say about how to get healthy, but it stood the test of time. And I can't say enough about having a program approach that encompasses not just the capsules, but the complete and the bars and the soft chews, so that your consumer, rather than just having one drink, they could potentially have 3 drinks. And from a business perspective, having a customer that does 3 products is always a better win than having somebody who just does 1 product.
And you've created a strong foundation for them with teaching about everything else, right? I mean, they're going to, overall, you've created a real lifestyle for them as well. So awesome. So I know we might have 1 or 2 questions. I want to respect your time and hold it to the time. Does anybody have any questions for Doug before we jump off the call? Anyone? Anybody? You can unmute yourself, or anybody want to share anything? Anyone? We got a lot of call-ins. Anybody want to share anything?
We missed your Monday night calls.
Yeah, it's archived.
Awesome. Anybody else? Any questions about somebody who's been in the business with forever? No? Awesome.
Hey, well, Lauren, I'll leave you with one final comment. As you notice, I have my Juice Plus visor on. I've got my Juice Plus jersey. There's a few stickers on the back of the car. Yesterday, I was waiting for Neera, she's waiting to practice driving. She's a new driver, and it hasn't happened in a while, especially with my car. But I was sitting in the parking lot. This guy pulls in next to me, gets out of his car, walks over, and I'm kind of like, oh, what does this guy want? And I roll down the window, and he says, hey, I see you have a Juice Plus sticker. I used to eat that stuff. And I've tried a lot of stuff since then, but nothing seemed to make as much sense as Juice Plus did. So can you help me figure out how to get, reconnected? And so I just,
awesome.
Simple things that, Nike doesn't pay me, but Juice Plus pays me very well. And I'm always happy to kind of do a little bit of shameless self-promotion to have people say, what is that stuff?
It's so funny. Quinn and I were in the parking lot once, and I had a license plate that said Juice Plus on it. We were driving from Best Buy in the parking lot, and this guy literally jumps out in front of my car. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm like, what that happened? And the guy comes up to the door, and he goes, hey, he goes, I just have to ask you, is it 222 once a day or twice a day? And I'm like, oh, my gosh. So like you said, it could be Karen Jones finding out about it, right, through at the car wash. And you just never know. You just never know. Yeah. And it's our responsibility, like you talk about. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Blessed to know you guys, blessed to work side by side, excited for our team to be collaborating together and sharing everything together. So that's what it's all about. Looking forward to seeing you at conference or before. And have a great one.
Thanks, Lauren. I'm looking forward to St. Louis and the Shining Star YOLO big adventure. So thanks a million for inviting me on the call, and all the best to everyone.
Thanks, Doug.
Lady, a big hug for us.
Okay, we'll do. Bye, everybody. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dougie.